Greetings, YouTube. At the moment, my wife's unemployed. I'm not looking for sympathy on this fact. It's just a fact. She's one of some 14 plus million Americans who are unemployed. She's got a few lines out there. In fact, she may actually have a contract that she'll be able to get for short term, which would be nice. But, you know, it does put a strain on us financially and personally. It's stressful. It causes tension. You know, being unemployed, money issues are one of the main stressors in relationships in the Western world. I have no idea what it's like in the second and third world, but I know that money plays a big role in the first world relationship issues. And I can understand why. It's literally your lifeblood. If you don't have money, you can't pay for a roof over your head, you can't pay for food in your mouth, you can't cover your bills. We don't live extravagantly. Neither my wife have any form of addictions. We don't gamble. My wife consumes a beer a week, so it's not like there's a large drinking problem in the house. Neither of us smoke or use recreational chemicals of any kind. I've pretty much stopped collecting knives and flashlights at the moment, though this weekend I did take a break on the flashlight. And my purchasing new gaming books has gone down to zero. But unemployment benefits are a big issue at the moment. My wife was being paid from a federal grant in her last job, which means that the state is having issues with her unemployment benefits. They're saying that she didn't make any money because the federal government paid her. So she's not collecting any unemployment benefits either. So she is applying, and hopefully that will get cleared up in the near future. But there are lots of Americans who are collecting unemployment benefits, and with good reason. Here in America, when you have a job, you pay into the unemployment system, so that when it comes time for you to collect from the unemployment system, you're collecting money that you put into it. Of course, you maybe find yourself in a situation where you're taking more out than you put in, but that's just the nature of the situation. Sometimes you have no control over the fact that the economy has tanked to the point where there are not enough jobs to get you back into the market. Not surprisingly, this has caused an issue with a number of conservative politicians. They are opposed to the whole concept of extending unemployment benefits to Americans. Though I'm not really sure what their solution to the problem is. If the jobs aren't there, and the Americans in question need the unemployment benefits, and they want the unemployment benefits to end, what do they expect for the Americans to do? There are no jobs. And if you cut their money off, what do they do? How do they pay their rent? How do they get their food, pay their bills, make sure their children have shoes and clothes, put gas in their cars so they can get to job interviews and jobs? I've not heard any answers to that. Saying I want to cut benefits or I don't want to extend them sounds good, particularly to those who are of a conservative mind. But like every other conservative solution I've heard, they're almost always empty. Actually, they are empty. I can't remember the last time I heard a Republican solution to something that I agreed with or I thought was an actual solution that wasn't just moving furniture around a room or throwing a euphemism at something to hide behind it as opposed to actually coming up with an answer. Now I'm going to give you a quote here. This is from an article in June from Nevada State nominee Sharon Angle. Said that where is it? They keep extending these unemployment benefits to the point where people are afraid to go out and get a job because the job doesn't pay as much as the unemployment benefit does. Now, if the job market is offering jobs that pay so poorly that unemployment benefits are better, there's a really big problem with your economy. In America, we don't have something called the living wage. Unemployment is very low. Minimum wage, I think, is around $7.75 per hour. That's in U.S. dollars. If it had kept pace with cost of living, currently in the year 2010, it would be around $15 an hour. So approximately the minimum wage is half of the amount you need to live in America and be above the poverty line. So if you have a minimum wage job, you could work 40 hours a week, which is the American standard, 40 hours a week, and you could be below the poverty line. That right there is messed up. That is immoral. That is unethical. But it's a policy supported by the businessmen of America. Business people. I won't be sexist here. I'm sure there were female conservative business people out there who like to dick over workers just as much as the men. It also explains why we don't have a comprehensive functioning immigration system, because the business people of America like the fact that we have a population of some 20 million undocumented workers that they can pay poorly and exploit. We've had numbers of immigration policies put into bills and go up for election, and all of them have been defeated because the business community has thrown money at politicians and bribed them to make sure that these policies are not put into law, so that they have access to that poorly paid, easily exploited pool of workers. So when politicians and quote-unquote business leaders complain about immigration law, it's all bull. Just as though when they complain about unemployment benefits, it's all bull. If the system functioned, if our economy paid people what they needed to live on, this wouldn't be an issue. Yes, overall costs would be slightly higher than they are now. And yes, there are markets in the world where you can still exploit people. But over time, those markets are going to narrow. As the economy of the world is elevated to the same level as the first world nations, and it's happening with fair trade policies in some places, the number of markets that you can exploit through cheap labor is going to narrow. There are going to be fewer and fewer of them. So eventually, and I mean this may take 100 years, the markets will all be close enough that the businessmen won't have anywhere to hide anymore. They won't have any holes to scurry into like the immoral rats they are, hiding their profits, exploiting workers whenever they can. Now, in theory, American politicians are supposed to represent the people who voted for them. And 14 million of those people in America today are unemployed. They are voters. 14 million voters. So I would recommend anyone out there who's unemployed, come November, if you've been unemployed in the last couple of years, or are unemployed now, don't vote for a conservative politician. Vote for a politician that is going to support you. Vote for a politician that will support functioning immigration change. Vote for a politician that supports a living wage. You have the power right here in your hand. You just reach up, you grab that little toggle, and you go click. And you vote for a politician that's going to do things for you that you need to see done. Be selfish, folks, if you need to be. Because if you aren't, if you don't do what's in your best interest, I can guarantee you that the conservatives aren't going to do what's in your best interest. They're going to do what's in the best interest of the people who bribed them, of the businessmen who gave them money to make sure that you, the voter, have no rights, that you, the employee, have no rights. So keep that in mind. Remember the angles of the world. Don't forget that. It's important. And for all the brothers and sisters out there in America who are unemployed, I hope you find something soon. It sucks. It's stressful. But remember, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We will as a nation survive this and move on. But we need to work together. We need to make sure that we support each other. And that we make sure that the businessmen don't get to us. Make sure that the politicians don't get to us. Make sure that we make them understand that we, the voters, are in control.